So I am nervous for tonight because, Michaela, you're doing this documentary on me. You've never seen me do stand-up. And what if I'm doing all new material tonight. What if I totally suck? You're going to be like, oh man, I don't want to do this documentary on him anymore. He's not funny. So that's I guess, kind of nerve-wracking for me.
Everybody's waiting to be famous. Everybody's waiting to get paid. Everyone's been waiting to take power. Everybody's wanting to get laid. Everybody's wanting to get laid. Everybody's wanting to get laid.
Any comedian will tell you this, but it's like crack when you're on stage and everyone's paying attention to you and everyone's laughing at you and you're just the center of attention. You're nervous before the show. You're nervous about how it's going to go. You're nervous about your set. You're nervous about getting the jokes out. You're nervous about getting laughs. But as soon as you step on that stage, it's like everything melts away and you're just in control and you're talking to the audience. You know, someone says something, you know, say something to them, you get a laugh, and it's just like you're in charge, and it's a really cool feeling of power, and I love it.
I loved him. He was so funny, so I thought he was great. I would go see him if he was like headlining someplace, like the comedy club someplace. I'd go see him.
He's always made me laugh. He's, you know, don't tell him I gave him credit, but he's got chops. He's funny.
So your name's Ali. What's your name, ma'am? Ali. Ali? You're both named Ali? That's your last name? And first name. Did you ever play basketball and do an alley-oop? Is that when you guys pass it to each other and get it in? It's an alley-oop when that takes place.
He had a radio show before I knew him. He knows all these different comedians that most of the locals just idolize.
When I was little, I wasn't really a fan of comedy. I would see stand-up on TV, I'd be like, oh, it's just stand-up, and I'd change the channel. But when I was in middle school, I started to really like comedy, and I started to love comedy. I was always kind of like a class clown kind of person, and I was always making jokes, obviously, and people were like, why don't you do stand-up? I'm like, no, stand-up's too hard, you know. Where would I write the jokes? I wouldn't know what to do. Then, when I was 16, I was in an honors English class with Mr. McKeeby, who went on to be one of my all-time favorite high school teachers.
And he had a research project that he did on comedy. What he was going to do was a research project, it was going to be comedy. And I said to myself, why are you doing comedy? And he said, well, I'm going to be a comedian someday. And I said, this kid doesn't talk. How is he going to be a comedian of any sort at all? I mean, he was not quite silly at the beginning.
You know, I did 5 minutes and they were really funny, and I showed it to the class, people laughed.
He said you got your A material, your B material, and your C material. So you structure your routine with the B and then the C, and then you bring it home with the A material. And I think that may have been his first stand-up appearance, so that was in your English class. Right.
From there, I just have been doing stand-up as much as I can since then. I'm 23, turning 24, and I love it. I love stand-up, and I just love everything about stand-up.
He is from Albany. I got a text from him yesterday, and I was really kind of shocked because he's a celebrity now. He does this great storytelling show in the Albany area, which he was very kind to let me come down and do. He has also appeared on the Howard Stern Show. Yeah. So we are very lucky to have him here. So as seen on the Howard Stern Show, give it up for Ethan Ullman, everybody.
The feeling you get when you walk on stage is awesome. You know, we're all, you know, messed up mental cases, all the comedians. So we love attention. We love people laughing at us. And you know, it gets addictive. It's like anything else. And you want that high of having a good show, and then of course you get the shows where you don't get a good laugh and you have a bad show, and then that just makes you want to go out more and do better and work harder and practice more and write more.
What you're going through right now, people don't see this. This is part of a comedian right here. Look where we are.
Middle of fucking nowhere.
It's not all Seinfeld and you know, the Richard Pryors and They don't see all the famous comedians.
They did this at one
They've
point.
all done it.
Yeah.
It's called, you're paying your dues, kind of. You have to. You just don't jump on the top.
So I don't actually know if I'm getting paid tonight. I think I'm getting paid, but I don't actually know. I got paid when I did the show last year, but at my point in stand-up, you don't really get paid for stuff, and if you do, it's like $10 or it's gas money or something. You know, I drive around so much for comedy shows. Like, even consider my radio show. I drive 30 minutes 2 ways once a week. And that's just for a radio show that I'm not getting paid for. This is the second time I've come out to the Berkshires in less than a week. And I don't know how many miles that is. It's like 30 or 40 miles. I'm just so excited to do the show that I was just like, yeah, I'll do it. But so there's a chance I'll get paid, which will be nice, but it won't be the end of the world if I don't get paid either. I don't know, hopefully I get paid. I don't expect to get paid, but I think I'll get paid. I don't know if I'm going to get paid.
I'm really excited to bring our next comic to the stage. I've worked with him on a number of different shows. He produces a couple shows over in the Albany area where he has a radio show on WCDB, and he's open for Doug Stanhope and Todd Barry, and he's been on the Howard Stern Show, interviewed on the Howard Stern Show, and he's here tonight to hang out with you guys. Please put your hands together for Mr. Ethan Ullman.
Thank you guys for coming out tonight. Give it up for Tom and all the other comics. It's such a great honor. I don't know if anybody run into their ex-girlfriend or ex-boyfriend anywhere. Is anybody? This happened to me honestly about a month ago. I was doing a show. My ex showed up. Afterwards, she wanted to talk, so we had some drinks, and it was weird. But in the parking lot afterwards, she realized that she'd left her cell phone in the restaurant, but she wasn't sure where. So I handed her my phone. I was like, why don't you just call your number, listen for the ring, find it. So as she's dialing in her number, I realized that when we broke up, I changed her name in my phone from Christine to Stupid Bitch. So I took the phone back. I'm like, why don't you warm up your car? I'll go find your phone. I called it, I listened for the ring, and I find it. It says 1 missed call from Faggy Douche Muffin. I guess she did not change my name when we broke up in her phone.
The nerves is just leading up to it, but as soon as you walk on stage, it's like the nerves just like wash off. And it's so much fun to just be up there and just be talking and have everyone look at you. You have to be a big narcissist to be a comedian. I wrote all these jokes. I got to here, not even halfway. And this joke is literally just saying the word ladies, so it doesn't really count. Maybe it does. No, but it was fun. It was definitely an older crowd. And I think the first thing I said was just like, hey, this is an older crowd. And they laughed, so that's a good sign. I thought it was great. I thought it was really fun, and I'm so glad that Tom had me on the show. He's basically my favorite person. If I could have sex with anyone in this room right now, it would be Tom. And if I've had sex with anyone in this room, it was Tom. So that is. How did you? You're a close fifth. I don't care, that I do well. For me, I want to make sure it's a good show for Tom. Because he's for the audience, but I want to make sure, the whole show goes well. Because I know Tom does a lot of good stuff, and I don't want to be the one to fuck up the show. Producing is really not easy because you have to book the talent. You have to keep in mind, are these people good? Are they gonna be prepared? Are they gonna be professional? Are they local? Are people gonna come out and see them? Are their friends and family gonna see them? Are people gonna recognize their name on the flyer and be like, oh, I've seen them before, I want to come again? So there's a lot that goes into it.
And he understands how a show is greater than any individual comic in the show. And most comics don't get that. I mean, the pros get it, they understand it, but it's a different mentality, So, and that's always refreshing to find.
Believe me, we haven't made it. We're not like professional comics or anything like that, but it's kind of cool. I'll be at work and someone's like, hey, I saw you at Comedy Works. You were awesome, it's pretty neat. And like every once in a while, like you can Google my name now, and I'll see all these different things about the shows I'm doing, and it's kind of cool. But still, it's like we haven't made it yet, so you can't really look at like, oh, look at us. Even if we're some of the better comics in Albany, that still means we're still in Albany, you know? So if we're not working every weekend, getting paid every weekend, it's not, what's the point?
I heard Brooke was going to be here tonight, so I bought him an orange soda. So I do something a little odd, and I don't normally talk about it candidly like this. I have a character called Brooke S.
Have you seen Brooke? Ethan's alter ego? Yeah.
I've seen his alter ego, which I'm a big fan of. And I think that's a very unique character, and I really like to see that character when he does it.
Brooke is a character I do where he is a new comic. It's his first time ever on stage. You know, he's trying out new jokes. He's over prepared for the show, and the idea is that it's a little endearing. It's like, oh, this guy, he's coming up. You know, he's trying his best, but oh, these jokes are actually funny. I've always done Brooke, you know, not hey, and coming back to the stage is Ethan Ullman doing his character Brooke. It's coming to the stage. This guy, it's his first time ever. You know, he showed up, he bribed me to get on, you know, whatever. You know, this guy is Brooke. It's separate. I'm trying to stay away from, like, the audience to be surprised. It's a fun crowd. There's only a couple people, but they're laughing and paying attention and into it. Usually I write out the intro, but I told her just to wing it. And the reason his name, I'm not saying Brooke Slamvinden or Brooke Slargendargen, is because every single time I do Brooke, I come up with a different last name. The rule is it always has to start with an S. The whole thing is Brooke, he wears the Fanta hat and the Fanta shirt. And sometimes he drinks Fanta, sometimes he drinks other orange soda brands, but you never talk about Fanta. Like, it's there, it's just, I don't know why it's there, but it's always there. So, I don't know when I started doing Brooke as just a nervous guy, but, you know, especially comedians really liked it. They were like, that is brilliant. And, you know, I wrote more jokes and I tweaked it and I did it a little bit differently, and audiences started really responding to it. And 75% of the time Brooke does really, really well. People really like him. 25% of the time people are like, what the fuck is going on? I have a very specific height, body shape, facial hair, whatever, and then I leave and I come back with a hat and a different shirt. And for some reason there are always people who don't realize that it's me dressed up, which is absolutely hilarious to me. It's just so obvious, but some people don't, and those people, they still laugh. They're like, that weird guy was good too. People are always interested in who my favorite comedian is, and I understand, because I feel it's interesting to find out what other comedians, who they like. But a lot of people sometimes are surprised when I tell them that Jim Florentine is my favorite. And he's just been someone that really heavily has influenced me, you know, leading up to stand-up, just helping to define what I find funny. He is best known on Crank Yankers, the show that was on Comedy Central for many years. He did Special Ed, he did Bobby Fletcher, he did like some of the funniest calls. I remember one of the first shows I ever saw, it was at the Egg. I saw The Killers of Comedy, which was a group of comedians loosely tied to the Howard Stern show. So I got to see him for the first time. I was probably 13, and I brought like every single CD and Crankacres DVD that I had to have him sign. So he signed like 10 things for me. And looking back, it's definitely pretty embarrassing, but at the time I was just so I was so thrilled to be meeting Jim Florentine finally. Anytime he comes through Albany, I always go and see his show. He comes to the Comedy Works usually once a year, and I usually interview him. Now that I'm doing my show, I interview him a lot, so he knows who I am at this point.
Then he came over, he's like, hey man, I got a radio show, I'd love for you to call in sometime. I'm like, all right man, whenever. He's like, well actually I do it tonight, or I think it was that night. I said, well I got to drive back to Jersey, but I'll call in on the drive home. He's like, all right. So I was on the thruway, and then like an hour later, at like 1 a.m, I called into his show and talked to him for like an hour. And you know, he's been coming to my shows probably like 5 years now.
Okay, we're with Jim Florentine here on Alternative to Sleeping with Ethan Ullman. How's it going, Jim?
Everything's good, man.
Good. You just did a bunch of shows up here in Albany. How many shows did you end up doing?
I wound up doing 5. There was one in Pittsfield, Mass on Thursday, and then 2 in Saratoga and 2 in Albany.
Now, I know you're on the Stern Show a lot, and you were on a couple weeks ago. Is it awkward going on there after dating Robin?
You know, just my second time back, so it's not. The first time definitely was. You know, when it was the time I went on when I was dating her, and then it was the last time I went on before this time was the first time.
Right.
I was after we broke up, so that was definitely awkward.
Last year, I was talking to him after the show. My dad came with me to the show, and he recognized my dad, which is just kind of ridiculous and funny. But it's just it goes to show how nice and cool and down to earth he is.
I don't have any other fans that follow me around like Ethan.
I like him so much that if he comes and does 4 shows in Albany, I will go to all 4 of them, which is essentially the same show 4 times. But you know, it's like if you see a movie you really like and you want to watch it again, it's the same thing.
He's a psycho, and he follows me around everywhere. He followed me in the bathroom before.
I think he's so funny. He does a lot of cool stuff with his stand-up, but the crank calls, and he does pranks.
I was gonna call the cops on him, and I'm just looking at the corner of my eye. I'm like, is this kind of guy gonna stab me? No, I'm just joking. No, you know what? You know, you get people come out to your shows whenever you come to town. You know, Ethan actually has a radio show and is really up on comedy and stuff and knows his stuff. So, you know, it's good that there's guys out there that support comedy and know, you know, exactly what's going on in the comedy world. It always helps.
Jim's good friend, Don Jameson, actually used to work on the Tom Green Show, and they work together and they do the prank calls and the terrorizing telemarketers, and they call it Meet the Creeps. So every time I interview him, I always ask him about, is there going to be another prank call CD? Is there going to be another prank hidden camera DVD?
Ethan's a good interviewer. It's like a conversation. You know, and I always like it conversational. I've always liked that kind of stuff instead of, you know, so when did you start comedy? And how long you been doing it, like that kind of stuff, you know, he just gets into it. He knows what's going on, like I said. He knows what's topical. He knows what's going on in the comedy world. So, you know, it's refreshing to talk where he's actually done his research and knows what he's talking about.
What's coming up next?
The next song.
Don't be a jackass.
He's well known around the area. A lot of comedians know him. So when you come up, people are like, oh, you should probably get in contact with Ethan.
College radio is always something I was interested in, especially because that's how Howard Stern got his start, on college radio. That's how Weird Al got his start. That's where he got his name, is on college radio. And I was like, this would be really fun. And I guess I really never, at the time, you know, as I was getting into it, I didn't realize where it could propel me.
You're listening to Alternative to Sleeping with Ethan Ullman here on WCDB Albany. I've got the greatest guest ever on the show, Weird Al Yankovic. How's it going, Al?
That is too much to live up to. How am I going to follow that?
That was 3 Balloons from Stephen Lynch's brand new album, 3 Balloons. Hey, Stephen, how's it going?
Oh, that might be the greatest song ever written in the history of songs.
Please welcome back to the program, Kevin Allison. Kevin, how's it going?
Hey, great. Thanks so much for having me.
I'm here with Stephen Jenkins from Third Eye Blind. How's it going?
Good, thanks.
I'm very excited to welcome on the air Jimmy Fallon. Jimmy, how's it going?
Ethan, how you doing, buddy? Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thank you so much for coming on. This is really an honor to have you on.
Please.
Took me about a month of trying to get on the radio to finally get my test, my on-air test, and so by the time I got a show my freshman year, it was beginning of October, and the only slots that I wanted to do or that were open was 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. I wanted a catchy name. We're the WCDB. We're a non-top 40, all alternative music station. So that's where alternative comes from. Alternative, and then to sleeping. Alternative to sleeping. It's the alternative to sleeping because at 2 a.m. you should be sleeping. I knew I wanted to play stand-up comedy. I didn't know that I wanted to interview comedians, but I knew I wanted to play stand-up. But the rule was you need to have either a hip-hop show, an electronic show, a jazz show, or an alt-rock show for 6 months before you can have a specialty show, and the specialty show has to be approved by the e-board. So I spent my first, it was actually about 5 months, just playing alt-rock. I had to play rotations, so I was playing bands I'd never freaking heard of, and I would play as much Weird Al, as much They Might Be Giants, as much Flight of the Conchords, as much Tenacious D, as much comedy stuff as I could fit in. And then it came to a point where, I was eligible to apply for a specialty show. I said, I want to play stand-up comedy, I want to play prank phone calls, I want to play comedy songs, that kind of stuff. And it was unanimously passed. Everyone on the e-board said yes. So then I got my comedy radio show. But, my friend Eric Michelson kind of gave me this idea, you can interview comedians, you can interview people, and that it wasn't my intention going into it. So that was the first 6 months of it being a stand-up comedy radio show. It was just 1 or 2 interviews here or there, and now obviously after 5 years, it's evolved into 1 to 5 to 6 interviews per show. And it's really become a staple of the show, and I think without the interviews, I don't think I'd still be doing the show after graduating. I'm now technically an alumni, DJ, or community member. After 5 years, I think I've developed better interview skills than I had before, and it's just really fun. It's not work anymore. It's just fun, and I really enjoy that. I'm kind of at a crossroads at this point. I don't know how much longer I'm going to be doing the alternative to sleeping radio show, so I want to get Sleeping with Ethan off the ground so I can really use that parallel to the radio show, and then eventually just do the podcast once the radio show ends. I hope to keep doing stand-up. I hope to keep producing. I want to keep, spreading storytelling. I really think it's great. Maybe one day write for a TV show, or maybe get paid to do radio, or get paid to do a podcast. But, I love doing interviews. I don't see myself stopping doing interviews anytime soon. Like I said, even if the radio show ends, I plan to continue with a podcast. So I've got a backup plan. I'd like to set up maybe, like I said, maybe a little tour or something, maybe do some bars in different towns in the area. That's what I like to do. I'd like to start performing in New York City. I've got some stuff that I'm working on to do that. I'd like to go back out to LA. I'd like to perform there again. I really enjoy LA, so my future's really open. I don't see myself staying in Albany, so that's probably the next step for me.
What's coming up next?
The next song.
Don't be a jackass. This is a song I'm gonna sing for you. I'm gonna sing it fast, I'm gonna sing it blue. I might even add in a solo with kazoo. Yeah, I think that's what I'm gonna do. I'll sing a song, I'll sing it out loud. It will be such a good song, my family will be proud. Grass will grow and need to be mowed. The song will be greater than a large Magellan cloud. singing my song really soon. My words will inflate you like a balloon. I'm gonna guarantee that you'll like the tune. We've been working on it all afternoon. This line's gonna be my sing-song key. Maybe I'll sing it for you, maybe I'll sing it for me. If you personify a tree, what would make it happy? What if you made it a ukulele? When you hear this song, it will make you grin. You'll think about stuff you could never imagine. Sometimes I lose, but usually I win. I don't like to pray, but I do like to sing. The song's essential. It's like bread. It will go in your ear and stay in your head. You'll be